Greetings, unsettled souls, and welcome back to the Correct Views. Sam I.B. DeGangi reporting for the Media Speaks, and guess what? It is time for your massive Fukushima update. That's exactly what time it is. If that's what you guessed, you are entirely correct. As always, friends, I put an awful lot of time and effort into the Fukushima updates. They are of utmost importance to me. Make sure you share these. Make sure you let other people know the warnings that you're about to get in this show. It's two parts. There's going to be one today and one tomorrow. Show people. Tell them. Let them know exactly what is going on. And alert your friends and neighbors just to common sense things like don't eat seafood out of the Pacific Ocean. Don't eat anything from California. Those kinds of things. Also, if you're watching this and if this here just got louder, then you're on high def. If you're watching live or if you're watching on youtube.com/thecorrectviews, it may be low def. You are the one I'm pointing to. That's high def. So high def will be on themediaspeaks.com as soon as it renders. Low def up immediately. All right, friends, right into it. Zero Hedge. TEPCO admits Fukushima radiation significantly undercounted. From April to September of 2013, as Bloomberg reports, TEPCO admits that levels of radiation measured from water samples around the destroyed Fukushima nuclear reactor were significantly undercounted. Well, imagine that. It's not that they're hiding anything. It was just an error. We assume it was mere coincidence that during this very time Shinzo Abe proclaimed the 2020 Olympics would be safe and used many of these readings as evidence. In other words, he's going to be bringing people into the Olympics in 2020, knowing that it is not safe to be there because of Fukushima. But they're going to bring people in anyway using data from a significantly undercounted report. But yet he's not going to repetition now that he's got new numbers and say that it's not safe, right? That's what you think he would do. He is a lying bastard, and you can send it to his office. Tell him it's from the Correct Views. Thanks for the poison fish, jerk. In addition to this debacle, the BBC reports the likely scale of the radioactive plume of water from Fukushima due to hit the west coast of North America should be known in the next 2 months, and rather stunningly, the Japan Times reports a new study finds the lifetime risk of developing cancer has risen among one-year-old girls in an area affected by the nuclear crisis at the Fukushima number 1 power plant. But apart from that, everything's great. TEPCO admits radiation levels were significantly undercounted. This is from Bloomberg. TEPCO Electric Power Company is reanalyzing 164 samples collected last year at the wrecked Fukushima atomic power plant because previous readings significantly undercounted radiation levels. Saying significantly undercounted with something this big is like saying that Beyonce just sucks a little bit. The utility known as TEPCO said that the levels were undercounted due to errors in its testing of beta radiation, which includes strontium-90, an isotope linked to bone cancer. One of the things that might help you with that is having proper calcium levels. Look up Chris Busby, Fukushima calcium. None of the samples were taken from seawater, the company said today in an emailed statement. These errors occurred during a time when the number of samplings rapidly increased as a result of a series of events since last April, including groundwater reservoir leakage and a major leak from the storage tank, according to the statement. And these are all, of course, like they always say, just coincidences. I had somebody a day or two ago try to convince me that conjoined whales that Michael Phelan reported on was normal. That there's ever been a time in history when there's been this kind of a mass die-off, with the exception of possibly the meteor and dinosaurs, never hasn't been seen in the oceans. He's trying to tell me, well, TEPCO didn't do it. It's the AC level, the acidic level of the water. That would not cause a die-off like we are seeing. It has never been seen before. And why is it only happening in the Pacific Ocean? Is the Pacific Ocean the only one getting acidic water? Is the Atlantic Ocean and the Indian Ocean and the Arctic Ocean, do they have some kind of an agreement, some kind of a contract where their water doesn't go acidic? TEPCO is brainwashing you! It says earlier today, TEPCO suspended the removal of spent nuclear fuel rods at Fukushima plant after a cooling system failed due to damaged power cables. The company said in a separate emailed statement, work resumed at the number 4 reactor spent fuel pool after activation of a backup system. The reason all this stuff is failing is because the radioactivity is so high that it's literally melting the devices that they're using. Not melting like wax. I mean melting in the other. It's infecting it. It's causing the electrical circuits to not work properly. It's literally cooking the circuitry and creating an issue where they're constantly having to find new equipment. They've had to replace robots before because they're simply being radiated too highly. And then there's the plume coming California's way, which is not AC. The likely scale of the radioactive plume of water from Fukushima due to hit the west coast of North America should be known within the next 2 months. And this was dated February, so there you go. Only minute traces of pollution, from the beleaguered Japanese plant have so far been recorded in Canadian continental waters. That is entirely not true. Look up bluefin tuna, Canada, Fukushima. This will increase as contaminants disperse towards on-Pacific currents. And here's a dismal study, it says, from the Japan Times, for those of you that think that I'm making this up and that I don't have any links. And he said he doesn't have any sources. The lifetime risk of developing cancer has risen slightly among 1-year-old girls in an area affected by the nuclear crisis at the Fukushima #1 nuclear power plant, according to a study published online in the U.S. Science Journal Monday. The assessment was based on a 2-month study by Japanese researchers conducted about a year and a half after the March 2011 nuclear disaster. This study checked the radiation exposure of around 460 residents living near the crippled plant at the Fukushima prefecture. Health risk assessment indicates that post-2012 doses will increase the lifetime solid cancer incidence rate among 1-year-old girls by 1.06 percentage points in the Tamano area of Soma, Fukushima prefecture, from the average rate of 3.176%, said the study. And this was according to the National Academy of Sciences proceedings. It is the first time projections have been made regarding the probability of cancer risk related to the nuclear disaster. Let's remember how low and how deliberately small it was made when this happened in Belarus after Fukushima, and you can probably add a point or two to that. Akeo Kayozumi, a team member and Kyoto University professor of environmental health, acknowledged the lifetime cancer incidence likely rose slightly due to radiation exposure, but said he sees the impact of the radiation on health small. Yeah, it's just small cancer. Nothing to worry about that. TEPCO planned to restart the Minichi nuclear power plant. If Japan lets them do this, then they deserve exactly what they get. In the same way that I would say the idiots in the Ukraine get whatever kind of horrible government they get. I don't mean to digress off Fukushima, but I'm going to. If you're too stupid to govern yourself and you need either the EU, which is bankrupt, or Russia, which is morally bankrupt, to govern you, then you deserve whatever hell you get. Friends, Voice of Russia, this is TEPCO falsely measures Fukushima radiation. Mishandled disaster, nuclear regulator. But they're doing such a good job, Sam. They're trying so hard. Just like they tried really hard to listen to all of the people that told them that this earthquake and tsunami were coming. And do not be misled. It is not the tsunami that caused the meltdown. It was the earthquake. There's proof of that. And the reason that that matters is because you're going to find people saying that it takes a tsunami to cause this, when in reality, it was caused by the earthquake. Yet another Fukushima-related scandal has broken out as Japan's nuclear regulator criticized the operator of the crippled plant for incorrectly measuring radiation levels in contaminated groundwater at the site. Almost 3 years since the reactor meltdowns and possible melt-throughs. If you don't know what that is, look up nuclear melt-through. At the Fukushima Daiichi Power Station, Tokyo Electric Power Company, the swines of TEPCO, that is GE, if you invest in them, you are part of the problem, says still lacks a basic understanding of measuring and handling radiation, said the NRA chairman Shunichi Tanaka. He said it on Wednesday. The utility has been widely criticized for inept procedure. BS. This is not ineptitude. This is them purposefully hiding it so that you boneheads continue to live on the West Coast, so that you keep buying this poison food that comes from Japan because you won't listen. This is purposeful. TEPCO said last week that groundwater drawn. Let me pause. How in the world could it? You don't get a job at a nuclear power plant by not knowing the basics. This is purposeful. TEPCO said last week that groundwater drawn from a monitoring well last July contained a record 5 million becquerels per liter of dangerous radioactive strontium-90, more than 5 times the total beta radiation reading of 900,000 becquerels per liter recorded in the well, which is around 25 meters from the ocean. 1 becquerel, as regular listeners know, is 1 reaction, 1 explosion per second. Each explosion can lead to anything from, say it with me, regular viewers, the common cold to deathly brain cancer. Each one of those explosions per second can do that. We are testing at 900,000 becquerels. That is 900,000 reactions per second. TEPCO said there was a calibration mistake with one machine measuring strontium, that was to say bone cancer, causing levels of well water at the plant, and it had also found an error with devices that decipher all beta radiation. If you believe that, you're an adult, okay? It's just that simple. They did this on purpose. This has been an ongoing, deliberate thing. And you can tell by the way that they are deliberately not letting any outside people in to help this. Something like this cannot happen, and this data becomes the basis for various decisions. So they must do their utmost to avoid mistakes in measuring radiation, Tanaka told reporters, though he added the mistake did not pose a serious safety risk at the plant. The hell it didn't. Ask them if, when they get cancer how significant it was. The legal limit for releasing strontium-90, which has a half-life of around 29 years, that means it can bother you for roughly 60, into the sea is 30 becquerels per liter. What has Chris Busby taught us? That there are no safe levels of radiation. What has Kellen Caldecott taught us? That they continue to raise the levels of what's allowed so that when their projections on what could happen hit, they can claim that you're still under. We've played this game in past months on this show. Look up Helen Caldecott radiation levels. The TEPCO spokesman said the utility will recheck all beta radiation readings of groundwater in light of the record strontium levels. That is record. Last year, radiation leaks, power outages, and other mishaps sparked international concern and prompted Japan's government to step in with more funds and support. As part of a turnaround plan approved by the government last month, TEPCO, that is GE, who you never want to invest in, hopes to restart its biggest nuclear station, Kashiwazaki Kawawa, this summer. There needs to be riots in the streets if they come anywhere near that. TEPCO in November began the hazardous process of removing hundreds of brittle spent fuel rods from the damaged reactor building at Fukushima. It said last week, well, that's, you know what, that's a little bit too late on this. They were, like I said, they knew that this earthquake was going to come. They simply tried to hope that it didn't happen until their stocks went up and they died of old age. Excuse me for those of you that get the audio of this. I'm thirsty. It said last week that it had removed around 9% of the 1,500 unused and spent fuel assemblies in the reactor's storage pool. TEPCO did not inform the public until recently that enormously high levels of radiation were discovered in groundwater collected at the Fukushima 1 nuclear plant last July. The company knew those figures that month. In other words, GE lied and hid this information from people so that they can continue to make money off of them in the economy. Well, if TEPCO, as we know, as I've been saying, is GE, then if we have any problem with a GE plant here, I'm sure they'll be different, and they'll let the people in that community know that they need to evacuate, right? Not likely. TEPCO released the data on February 6, showing that the groundwater contained a record 5 million becquerels per liter of radioactive strontium-90. Initially, TEPCO said that it had detected 900,000 becquerels. Many materials, by the way, not just strontium. The company's explanation for the huge difference in the two measurements was that the method of measuring the data, again, could be lower than actual levels. It says 8 more children in Fukushima have developed thyroid gland cancer in addition to previous 75 suspected cases discovered during the prefecture-led checkups at local panel of experts said on Friday. That is 83 thyroid cancer cases in one city. That is to say, prefecture. If that happened here, might you think it was a little strange? But yet, they're proclaiming that there's only going to be a 1% increase in cancer in girls. My ass! We've already seen 83 that are confirmed. How many are they hiding and how many don't even know they have cancer yet? And this is of less than 3 years. The screening of Fuku residents who were 18 or younger at the time of the disaster kicked off in October of 2011. We reported on that. Half a year after a tsunami triggered by an earthquake, hit Japan's coast. It was the earthquake that did it. About 270,000 teenagers have been examined since. Many people, it says, are seriously concerned that a continuous increase in the number of thyroid cancer cases was caused by exposure to radiation from the crippled plant, while the panel of doctors and other medical experts say they are not sure that the link is a meltdown calamity. My ass! You do not see 83 cases of childhood thyroid cancer spike up in one area and the meltdown be coincidental. Nobody can be that stupid. Meanwhile, the leakage of highly radioactive water from one of the damaged reactors has been detected outside Unit 3 reactor at the Fuku plant. There has been no leakage to the outside of the building. TEPCO said they were in charge of the decommissioning work. On Saturday, one of the workers monitoring robots removing debris on the first floor of Unit 3 reactor found that water was leaking to the drainage ditch in the northeast area of the first floor. They promised it would investigate the cause without interrupting the decommissioning work. So they're going to say that, when the worker that goes to check it out gets cancer, it was all imaginary. Besides, the operator has revised the radioactivity levels of the Fukushima No. 1 nuclear plant up to 5 million becquerels of strontium per liter, which is a record. That is a bad record. That is like a new Kelly Rowland record kind of bad. And almost 5 times higher than the original reading of 900,000 becquerels per liter detected in the water sample last July. On Friday, the company announced that the previous radiation levels had been wrong and apologized for the failures caused by the malfunctioning measurement. Yeah, I'm sure they're deeply saddened and sorry. Economic collapse. Michael Snyder, the stock market in Japan is collapsing. Who might have predicted that? Might it have been Correct Views? Let's remember what Gorbachev said. It was not Ronald Reagan in the United States that led to the downfall of Russia. It was Chernobyl, which is another nuclear meltdown. February 5th, Did you see what just happened in Japan? The stock market on the third largest economy on the planet is imploding. On Tuesday, the Nikkei fell by more than 610 points. If that sounds like a lot, that is because it is. The largest one-day stock market decline in U.S. history is only 777 points. So far, the Dow is down at that time by 1,000 points during this correction, but Nikkei is down more than 2,300 points. The Nikkei has dropped more than 14% since the peak of the market, and many analysts believe that it is just the beginning. So, are we able to put this together yet? The stock market is imploding in Japan, and they're telling you that everything is safe so that you'll stay in Japan and continue eating their food if you are outside of Japan. This is bad news, people. They've got incentive to lie, as I just laid out, and lying is exactly what they're doing. Friends, do me a favor. Go to the Arcadia Grill in Canton, Ohio. If you're anywhere near Canton, even if you're like an hour or two away, drive up. The food is worth it. It's delicious. They've got the best ravioli I've had in this area by far. Some of the best ravioli I've ever eaten. They've got a full bar stocked with every kind of alcohol you could want. And I promise you, you've never had a better drink. You're not going to get some mamby-pamby piece of crap drink at the Arcadia Grill. You're going to get a really good drink, and it's going to be made correctly. The Arcadia Grill, downtown Canton, Ohio, on Court Avenue. Also, friends, do you like to read stories? Do you? Do you still read, or are you one of the idiots in America that don't read anymore? If you do read, then go to Mike McLaughlin, M-A-C Laughlin, and tell him you want to buy some of his short stories. I recently found him as one of our sponsors, and I find sponsors who I can look you in the eye and tell you, hey, Arcadia Grill's got good food. Okay, Mike McLaughlin has really good stories, and that's one of the things he does. He sells his tales. So go and check him out on Facebook. Friends, I got 3 more stories for you on this part 1 of 2 of our massive Fukushima update. Christina reached prison planet. More than 500 lanternfish and deep-sea squid found dead on Hawaii shores. Oh, but Sam, the conjoined whales are normal. The massive die-out, it's normal. Even though we've never seen a die-off in all of recorded history, again, minus the possible meteor strike on the dinosaurs, and as far as we know, that didn't affect the ocean like this. That's debatable. We've never seen a worse die-off. But that's normal, right? Well, let me give you some more normal. Mainstream media in Hawaii, where if you live there, you have a death wish, via the Star Advertiser, has reported that between 500 and 800 squid and lanternfish were found dead or close to dead in the Nawilawilihi Harbor around the Hawaii on Monday. On an area of Hawaii on Monday, January 27th, prompting both the state and federal officials to investigate the cause of the die-off. Nothing to do with Fukushima, I'm sure. What they won't come right out and tell you is that this is just one of the many species possibly affected by the radio fallout from Fukushima. The Department of Land and Natural Resources says that the lanternfish are typically found in very deep ocean, and that they aren't sure why they are showing up dead on Hawaii's shores. Nothing to do with the 3 meltdowns and possible melt-throughs, just on the other side of that drink. The public is being asked to look for more dying lanternfish and squid on nearby beaches and to report it to the Eyes of the Reef Network. Scientists have already linked sea deaths in Alaska with Fukushima radiation. It is not up in the air for debate. They suffered skin lesions, hair loss, and lethargy, and many just didn't make it at all. Bald eagles and sea stars, as I reported on last week. Small fish and even plankton are showing up dead and dying too. Hundreds of whales have been radiated to death, and people still want nuclear energy to fuel the planet, it asks why. We have a Stanford scientist has already shown that we can run the planet on 100% solar energy. I'll look it up. It's a Stanford scientist, and he is linked here at Prison Planet. Christina Sarich, more than 500 dead lanternfish. Search that, you'll find it. Two more stories, friends. FukushimaDiary.com. TEPCO, 5 million becquerels per meter 3 of strontium-90 detection was out of concern, so we didn't announce it. Out of concern. Friends, look. I need you to do me a favor. I need you to not worry about whether or not you eat any poison food. It's out of concern for you. Why, don't you know you're going to feel so much better if you don't know? And that cancer you get, that wasn't caused by us. The reason why TEPCO didn't announce that they measured 5 billion becquerels of strontium-90 from groundwater was out of concern. Aww. TEPCO's spokesman stated this boneheaded comment in the press conference 2/17/2014. I don't know why it's just now being noticed. They obtained the analysis result by September 2013. However, they didn't release the report, which was supposed to be because they were investigating the possible misanalysis. After all, this analysis was not wrong. So what they did was found an extremely high level of radiation. Didn't want people to move, didn't want people to stop giving them that green dollar, so it was a good idea to go ahead and let them just eat that poison food. We'll tell them about it a year later. It's no big deal. Next month, in October, the NRA came to Fukushima laboratories to inspect their analysis. However, TEPCO still didn't report about the extremely high level of strontium-90. NRA was requesting TEPCO to disclose even though it didn't verify the possible misanalysis. It can be observed that TEPCO conceals every important fact with whoever pressures them. They might be concealing other significant facts even right now. I'm willing to bet my life they probably are. For those of you that get that on audio, that silence was brought to you by drink number 2. Friends, the absolute last story I'm going to get to, the dumdy of the day. Even on Fukushima Day, we got dumdies. The truth wins, Michael Snyder. In 19 minutes, a team of snipers destroyed 17 transformers at a power station in California. Oh, but Sam, the nuclear power plants are safe. Alright, let's see how safe they are. When a real terrorist attack happens, sometimes we don't hear about it until months afterward, if we ever hear about it at all. For example, did you know that a team of snipers shot up a power station in Cali? The terrorists, it said, destroyed 17 transformers and did so much damage that the power station was shut down for a month. Even a nun was able to break into one a while ago, search up a nun nuclear power plant. And it only took them 19 minutes of shooting to do it. Of course, most Americans have absolutely no idea that this ever happened because they get their news from the mainstream media. The chairman of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission at that time says that this was the most significant incident of domestic terrorism involving the grid that has ever occurred. And yet you won't hear about it on the big news networks. You'll hear about it on the Correct Views, won't you? They are too busy covering the latest Justin Bieber BS. And again, why does this matter to you listening to this? Maybe you're new to the show. Any attack on a nuclear power plant can result in the horrible cancer death of you. And statistically speaking, even if it doesn't get you, it will get somebody within 5 people that you know due to the meltdown. And that's statistical fact. That's why it matters. And they'll be miserable. You don't just get nuclear poisoning and die unless it's a rather significant dose. You get sick and sick and sick and sick. So no matter how many years you have, you've always got something and your life is miserable. It says the Wall Street Journal's Rebecca Smith reports that a former Federal Energy Regulatory Commission chairman is acknowledging for the first time that a group of snipers shot up a Silicon Valley substation for 19 minutes last year knocking out 17 Transformers before slipping away into the night. They even got away with it. The attack was the most significant incident of domestic terrorism involving the grid that has ever occurred, said John Wellinghoff, who was chairman of the Fed Energy Regulatory Commission. Evidence found at the scene included more than 100 fingerprint-free shell casings and little piles of rocks that appeared to have been left by an advanced scout to tell the attackers where the best shots were. It's not that hard to shut down the cooling system at a nuclear power plant, and it's even harder to find significant power to fix it once you have. So much damage was done that the substation was closed down for a month. And what happens if they decide to attack nuclear power facility next time using bigger weapons? Another Fukushima, perhaps, on our hands. This is from a previous article. Commercial and research nuclear facilities across the U.S. are inadequately protected against the threat of terrorism, according to the reports of a new study released this week by the Nuclear Proliferation Prevention Project at the University of Texas at Austin's LGB School of Public Affairs. The two largest terror threats facing these facilities, according to the report, are the theft of bomb-grade nuclear materials and sabotage attacks aimed at causing a nuclear reactor meltdown. It goes on that the study, entitled Protecting U.S. Nuclear Facilities from Terrorist Attack, Reassessing the Current Design Basis Threat Approach, that's a long title, found that not one of the 104 commercial nuclear reactors that are in the U.S., that is our home for you Lady Gaga fans, is protected against a maximum credible terrorist attack, such as 9/11. In fact, nuclear facilities are not required to protect themselves against airplane attacks, assaults by large teams of terrorists, or even high-powered sniper rifles.